FCL Surf, coming to you from the top of Kirra Hill on the beautiful Gold Coast of Australia. On today's show, we're joined by Australia's own Mikey Wright. The USA's Lakey Peterson drops in, and the Brazilian Storm's Felipe Toledo. We will give you our surf forecast from the Cheezeline. Brad Gerlach and Surf Stats will reveal their fantasy surfer teams. Plus, we will announce the lucky 8 prize-winning members who have scored a new set of Quobba Fins and a Surf Yogis natural zinc. Coming up next is Mikey Wright.
You know the best way to measure a beach?
How?
In feet.
And will you follow me to a place I've been before?
Queensland, where life's beautiful one day and perfect the next.
I wanted to start with showing you that my son's running your look here.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a haircut since I was like, oh, he's a big Mikey Wright fan.
Yeah.
You know, the obvious question would be, how do you think you're going to do this year? You're like, well, I'm going to win every. You know, I mean, I remember getting asked those questions. I'm like, well, I'm going to do the best that I can do. I know that's a boring answer, but I'm going to do the best I can do, and I know you're going to do that.
So growing up, I never looked at who was in my heats. Last year was the first year I actually looked because I'm working with Troy Brooks, and
right.
He was like, yeah, just start looking who you got in your next heat. Like, so just who cares? Like, you're still going to go do your own thing,
You must be pretty excited about being able to come this year, not be as injured, and have more of your arsenal to be able to go to.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been asked so many times, like, oh, are you excited for the year? Are you excited this and that? And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know. Am I supposed to be more excited? Like, yeah, of course. Contest is coming back around. It's the first event of the year, but
how much more would you say compared to maybe when you were 16?
The list could go on. There's so many things that I've learned since then. Like, when I was like 16, I think I stopped competing. Around 16, 17, just wanted to go and surf. I just wanted to be like Dane.
So how are you feeling now then?
Now as I said, like, I've only just started to come back into the airs. I've kind of been even I actually had to pull out of the airborne contest. I'm still not quite confident. I will push it in a heat, and I will go to that extra length. But if it's not in a heat, then I know to withhold that. That's what I kind of learnt last year.
How old are you?
22.
22.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 22.
Actually, I could be. I fully just forgot. I could be 23, but I think I'm.
There is that situation where you're like, all right, you need a 9 to advance out of this next seat. You're sitting on priority, like.
Yeah, but that's to beat you though. It's to beat them, but like you've got to do that.
You gain confidence from those, don't you?
Yeah, well, the confidence to know you can do it in those pressure situations. Like, all right, there's 30 seconds to go. I can see 3 waves. I can at least you can't be going skitzing out or anything.
You gotta be more like
centered.
Give it to me.
Yeah. Which one am I going to take? Which one? All right, what am I doing?
Yeah. I'll leave you with this. My dad told me, well, my dad was an athlete too, so I got a lot of help because he was an athlete. He knew things. He's like, and he's from Hungary. He's got an accent. And he's like, when they ask you a stupid question, don't answer it. Just say what you want to say. That's what politicians do. Don't, because they can ask some dumbass questions, and you're all,
You just answer it in a weird way that kind of puts it back on them.
Or just say what you want to say. Like, they're like, so you cut a bog down there, and you're like, yeah, my board felt great, and I'm going to get a hamburger because there's a really good hamburger. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to kind of remember that your fans would have gone, what a dumb question, and then you bounce back with a good one like that. They're like, that's awesome.
Obviously, I'm excited. It's my first full year on tour, and I'm stoked to be out there and surfing with a number and on my jersey. I think it's already out now, but I chose 69.
That would have been my number for sure.
Coming up next is Lakey Peterson.
You know the best way to measure a beach?
How?
In feet.
And will you follow me to a place I've been before?
Queensland, where life's beautiful one day and perfect the next.
When you're on a wave where you can have the control or you can push against the wave, or do you like it when the wave pushes against you?
That's a good question. I think I like when the wave pushes back against me a bit more. I feel like in general, take a wave like Snapper, I really like this wave because it's so bowly and so kind of sucky and not very big, but like just girthy back towards you. And I think for me, I enjoy that because I feel like I have a bit of power in my surfing. So I'm able to use the wave to let that do a bit more work than I even need to. And I think that really looks explosive when that comes together.
It does.
So yeah, I like that feeling when it's kind of, you go up for a turn and it's just going to let you. Also, when the wave's pushing more at you and giving you the power, I feel that allows me to be able to push back at it harder. You know what I mean? So it's like these two forces of power on power, and it's obviously going to create a bigger turn or air or whatever you're trying to do.
Surfing, I mean, I don't know if it's talked about all that much, but I believe surfing is two sports in one. There's the competing, which is wave selection, choosing to go or not go, defense, whether you're gonna paddle really hard, catch the waves, be in the position, all the competing parts of it.
Totally.
The moment your hands leave the rails, it's a performance sport. Which one do you like more? Or do you like them both?
No, I like the performance aspect more. I love, it's weird because I love competition, so I love playing the game a little bit, but I just personally feel as though I love surfing heats, I should put it this way, when the waves are super pumping, that everyone's getting really good waves, like honestly, not just me. If I'm getting really good waves and Steph's getting really good waves and it's a final and we're both just surfing great, I love that way more, and I can handle if I lose that way more than if it's super small, one wave comes through and you didn't have priority at the time and you're like trying to figure out how to just hassle each other. It's just not as much my thing. Where I think you need to have that. I think someone like Gabriel Medina, for instance, is incredible at both. But as a competitor, he's insane. And I think that rattles a lot of people because he's so intense and he's going to fight and scratch and claw. And that in turn rattles people when their hands do leave the rail because they're just like,
yeah,
oh my God, he just sat on me for 20 minutes or whatever.
Is there a female that's like that? Or you don't have to name names?
I don't think on that. Yeah. I don't know if there is, not on that level, I don't think. There's definitely girls that are maybe a bit more tenacious or, and you know the ones, it's like, okay, I have her in my heat. She's going to want priority. She's going to want my inside. I'm either going to decide to battle that. Is that worth it right now? Because there's not too many waves coming in. Or
Mike would help you with that too?
Mike would help me with that. Totally. It's fun to be at events with the men. I don't know if they would say the same about us because warm-up surfs are a lot more crowded. But I feel like for viewership, it's a good thing because a lot of people will just watch the men's event. And if we have a standalone event, they won't turn on our event. And I feel like when we compete with the men, it opens up people's eyes to where the level of women's surfing is at right now, which has come such a long way. And don't get me wrong, the women who paved the way are amazing, and we wouldn't be where we are without them. But I feel as though being on the platform with the men opens up a lot more eyeballs to women surfing and the aspects that women surfing can bring that guys can't bring to the table. And I think it's just a very positive thing for the men and the women.
I agree.
So yeah, it's fun to compete with everyone at the same venue.
I agree. I think the natural flexibility of women can play like the women can do things that a lot of men can't because they're not flexible enough.
Yeah.
What do you and certainly when you watch the Olympics, you watch gymnastics, or ice skating or or diving, the judged sports, you see incredible performances from both men and women. Hey, well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and it's really wonderful talking with you and getting to know you better, and I'll be watching and cheering you on, and then I'll see you at home.
I'll see you at home. Yeah, second home.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Coming up next is Felipe Toledo.
Can you tell like the finite difference between all these boards right here?
Dude, yeah, that's actually funny, because been working with Marcio for a couple of years now, and then my boards is pretty much the same since my first year, like same thing, just more leaders maybe, and then Marcio sometimes he just wants to like, oh. He changed something on my board, and then he doesn't tell me.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell me at all.
Yeah,
He's just like, oh yeah, I got all the boards, and then one of them, it's different.
Yeah.
It doesn't look different, but there's like, or a foam, or like the glass is different, or like something.
Yeah.
To edge or something like that. So he doesn't tell me. And then I tried all of them, and then this one board is like, Marcio, like, I like all of them, but this one, like, I don't know, it felt kind of like different,
I've seen a couple times that when you didn't get the result or you were something, they show you punch on the board or something like that, and I mean, look, for me, I did it too. Like punch my surfboards, I had really high expectation of myself, and it wasn't that I was trying to disrespect the surfboard. It was just that the surfboard happens to be there.
True, right?
But like
the only thing too.
Yeah, but that I mean, for me, I kind of feel that's not a bad thing. That shows your level of.
It looks like a bad thing.
No, it looks like a bad thing
from
maybe some people,
other people eyes,
maybe they don't understand it though. I understand it.
Yeah,
I get it.
like,
I'm like, oh man, But what I learned was, and you may do this too, is I go underwater, nobody can see me, and I go
As loud as you can. Yeah.
I imagine the fish going, yikes!
What is going on?
And then I come up and I'm like, all right. But I have to get it out.
Yeah.
I'm like that
kind
of guy.
For sure. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You have.
I
There were
really
so
like
many
that
times
about
that I kind of like, I was like, dude, calm down. And then I got home, I was just like, "Ah!" Just freaking like punch my board, you know, like, yeah, but that's a hard moment to like control yourself. Like, you know, it was probably like those heats that you lost like with 2 high scorers, like, holy, just, you know, freaking smash that board, you know, just like, breathe. All right, come down. But yeah, it's hard for sure.
How your mood plays an effect on your surfing. Do you feel? Do you do things a little different if you're a little? I mean, because we're all human. If you're a little bit angry, or you're a little bit. What about when you're a little bit sad?
Yeah. For me, for sure. I've always been like, you know, like really close to my family, and then if it was like something wrong with my family, or it was just like an argument between my brother and my mom, you know, I was like, shit, like, fuck, you know, like take all that emotion to myself, you know, just like, dude, and I know that I can't do that to me because there's something it's not under my control. Yeah. And I know that, you know, I have that feeling. I was like, I know that I can't do that, but it's you know, heavier. Yeah. I was just like, fuck, you know, like, damn, you know, but I feel like it does affect my surfing.
Can you use those different moods to pull the best out of yourself, knowing that you're a human being and you can't control that situation. Yeah. You know, some things make you angry, some things make you sad, some things make you happy.
Well, a good example of that's Mick, right? That year that he won the world title, or he got second or something. Like, lost his brother, like the you know, got his split up with, you know, his girl, you know, like those, like the shark thing, you know, the attack the J-Bay. Like, he was going through so much. He knows how to, you know, like, that feeling to, like, there's something that's not on my control, you know, like, okay, it's happening, but that's what I've been working on the past few years.
I was thinking that's an area that you've probably improved in and been able to, like,
for sure. That event in Rio, you know, I think that was, as we were saying, the energy was just like so intense, like just like going to my heat, just like walking on the beach, going to my heat. I was like always running because there was so much energy. I was like, I wanted to run like so fast, just everyone's screaming. I was just like, screaming with myself, you know. Just, So it was like, yeah, it was so sick. That definitely for sure, you know, like the crowd and, you know, like the screams and all that. That's a big motivation for me. Yeah. Like huge.
You can
one.
feel that.
Yeah. A huge one. There's people that actually doesn't work under the crowd's pressure, but I kind of love it. I just, you know, like just want people to see me like as a role model for, you know, like for their kids grow up in surfing, you know, like just, I don't know, just being, you know, like a idol for them. Just, you know, like, oh, I want to be like Felipe. Just the same way that I grew up looking Kelly, like, you know, like all you guys. Just like, dude, I want to surf like this guys. You know, just like, shit, they're rip. I want to be like them. Just travel and surf and, you know, and now I'm here. I kind of know like how to do it, and I want to be the guy that I was watching on the TV. You know, like just, you know, damn, I want to just be good to, especially kids, you know, they never gonna forget your reaction and all that. For sure. You know, I never said no to one kid. Never ever in my whole life. Just.
Dude,
all right, brother.
Epic. Thanks so much.
You.
It was really great.
Yeah, it was fun
today.
for sure. It was a pleasure.
Cool.
Coming up next is our surf forecast from the Cheezeline.
You know the best way to measure a beach?
How?
In feet.
And will you follow me to a place I've been before?
Queensland, where life's beautiful one day and perfect the next.
fantasy frothers. It's Cheezo with the Cheezeline Surf Report for your Snapper Rocks 2019 Pro. I haven't been this pumped since Cyclone Oma. By God, I'm keen to get into this thing, so let's gear up and get ready for a big year. As you can see here, we've got a nice little fetch forming off New Zealand. It's going to be pushing down into our beautiful northeast swell window. 3 to 4 foot lines Wednesday, building 4 to 5 foot Thursday, maxing out Friday, 6 foot. Look for Huey's winds to be pretty strong come Wednesday morning out of our southeast quadrant here. But watch for that to swing around a little bit more come Thursday, a little bit more south, and Friday we'll see it southwesterly, pumping all the way through to Kira. We got a big comp ahead of us, but I reckon this thing will be done in 4 days. So get your tips in early, and it should be a bit of a flash in the pan event, a bit like Keanu on tour. Haha, just kidding, mate. Anyway, Cheezo's honest pick for the comp. Look for Ricardo Christie to have a big one back on tour. Back to you at the desk, boys. Rip in.
All right, well, based on Cheezo's predictions, I've run all my stats based on a 3 to 6 foot size snapper point break. So when I talk about my metrics, it's all based on that. All right, let's start with heat 1. We've got Owen, Griff and Solly. Owen's quite strong in the 1 to 4 foot. For a tall guy, that's especially impressive. He's also in the top 8 for point breaks. He's had a Gold Coast win in the past, and he's number 1 as far as the round 1 win percentage. So he's our top number.
And it's Owen, Solly,
and Griffin.
And
Griffin's stats are strong, but he's only had 1 event, so there's not a lot of data to draw on.
I know Owen. I watched him win the event a couple years ago, but I am gonna go with Griffin. I think he's gonna come out of the starting blocks like a horse on fire.
Yeah, he'll probably be on my team as well. Heat 2, we've got Geordie, Jack Freestone and Zeke. Stats wise, Geordie is killing it. He's actually top 2 as far as small wave stats. So it's him and Felipe are pretty much neck and neck in the 1 to 4 foot range. So if it does get small, Geordie can still pull it out. He's also 3rd when it comes to point breaks. So he's got great stats across the board. Jack, interestingly, despite having the wave of Omar a couple of weeks ago, has yet to win a heat. He's had 3 events at the Gold Coast and he's still none for 6. So unfortunately, Geordie's got the stats on Jack and Zeke, who's had a 13th and a 25th.
I'll just look at the transitions in between the maneuvers, and they've all got stellar maneuvers. But Geordie has a better flow from maneuver to maneuver to maneuver. Really pleasing style and a lot of power with a lot of variety. I'm going with Geordie.
All right. Heat 3 is one of my top 2 heats of the first round. We've got Kelly, Italo and Yago. So Kelly's on top stats wise there. Yeah, he's 1 to 4 foot, rights, points, round 1. All his stats are really strong. He's got a 60% make rate for getting to the quarterfinals or better at the Gold Coast event. Italo, he betters Kelly a little bit better in the 1 to 4 foot range. He's got better stats there. His rights haven't been as strong as his rights have been phenomenally strong, not as strong as his lefts, but that should still serve him well here at the Gold Coast. Both can technically win with the new format, given that both first and second make it to round 3. But Kelly's on top, Italo not far behind, and poor Yago, unfortunately, most likely to make round 2.
So Kelly's a notorious sleeper inner and tends to use the first round sometimes to try out a new board and whatever. However, with the elimination, the 3rd spot, I don't think he's going to feel that much pressure against Yago. I think Italo's going to win that heat, but I think Kelly's going to advance too.
Round 4, we've got Felipe, Kaio and Joanne. Felipe has got a massive gap between him and the other 2. I can't look past anyone else in the numbers. Points, top 5 in almost every relevant category, and his round 1 average heat score is pretty much in the top as well.
I don't know, pound for pound, speed, variety, excitement, spontaneity, thrive off the crowd. Won his first event here. Is that it? The first WCT was his first WCT. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna win that. He's gonna come out and he's not even gonna really probably think about winning. He's just gonna come out and just he's gonna just perform, and I think he's gonna win that heat.
Round 5, we don't have the wild card yet, but we've got Julian and Seth Muniz. Julian's top 10 for most metrics at this event. He is a reigning champ, but he's been inconsistent in the past. He's had a couple of 13th and a 25th, but we've still got him on top for round 1, heat 5.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because
with Seth, we don't have much CT data.
Yeah, no, I know how he surfs, and I think I'm gonna go with Julian. I think Julian's gonna win that heat.
Looking at
whoever we don't know because
there's an unknown, of course. But I mean, one of those two is going to get through because two out of the 3 are guaranteed. When I looked at Seth's data for the QS, his qualifying year last year, he got a 2nd in Japan and a 5th at the US Open and a 3rd at Balato. Japan and the US Open are more beach breaky style. The 3rd at Toledo is maybe a bit of a positive for our short right-hander.
It's a short pockety.
But looking at the banks, I thought maybe we're not going to get a long running snapper this year. I thought maybe Balato might be a bit of an indicator. He was pretty strong there, but even so, that's a big stretch. I'm talking outside data now. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I wonder how Julian's sleeping with the bubs.
Well, wasn't she just born like a couple of weeks before this time last year? He was traveling from Coolum every year.
That's right. She's probably sleeping. He's sleeping fine
now. Round 6, we've got Gabriel Medina, Ryan Callanan, and an as yet named wildcard. Gabriel's our top metric across the board for the Gold Coast, so we can't go past him. Ryan is a non-stats based personal pick of mine. I really want to see him do well. He killed it at the end of last year, both on the QS and on the CT, and I reckon both of them will go through well this year. Obviously, we don't know who the 3rd surfer is, but I think that'll be a good heat to watch.
I think Ryan's going to win that heat. He beat him in Portugal last year. I think he's more exciting to watch than Gabriel on the wave. Gabriel's exciting to watch, like how he competes and his decisions, and I think Ryan's has kind of an unorthodox style, a pleasing style, but he's less predictable, and we've seen less of him, and I think that with how well he did at the end of the year, I think he's coming into this, and the fact that he's been in the CT before, and when I watched him when he was on tour before, he lost a lot of high scoring heats by like barely, you know what I mean, and he's 2 years older now, I'm gonna go with Ryan on this one.
Cool. Heat 7. We've got Ace Buchan, Connor Coffin, and Jadson Andre. Ace, there's a little asterisk here next to him in my notes just because he's still recovering from an injury. He only had his first surf on a fiberglass board, I think, about a week ago. But it looks like he's ready to perform, but it's just a little, proviso to bear that in mind when choosing him on your team. But he's consistent, nearly 40% of all starts at Gold Coast have result in quarterfinal or better for him. He's just a very reliable pick. So if you need a workhorse for your team, he's probably the best option. Connor's had 9th and 13th. He's not a bad mid-tier option. But Jaddy's got lots of experience but low percentages in right-handers.
Be wary of the guy who's injured. I'm going to go with Ace.
Nice. A la Julian, 2018. Next, Heat 8. It's very hard to split. We've got Michelle Burrows and Jeremy Flores, and then Leonardo. Leo's injured as well. He did his shoulder a few weeks ago at the event at Newcastle, I believe it was, at QS. Michelle's top 10 in the rights and on the points, but in his 11 Gold Coast events, he's had 5 without winning a heat. so 33rds and 25ths historically. Jeremy's really good in the small stuff, especially 1 to 4 foot, and he's strong in round 1 traditionally, but it's really hard to split those two. I'm looking at maybe Jeremy, but yeah, could go either way.
This one, I really don't know, so I'm just going to go with Leo because he, I think, has a larger repertoire than Jeremy and Michelle. And if it comes down to it, he can do a few things in the air to be able to get that score. So Michelle's not in the air, Jeremy's not in the air. So I love those club sandwich things that Jeremy does, and certainly when his timing is good, he's pretty devastating in the power. However, he tends to oversurf a lot, and maybe because he hasn't had the result here, he kind of wants it too much or something. So I'd say Leo. That's how I'm kind of.
Yeah, no, nice. I like
up with it.
Another one that was hard to split, we've got Michael Rodriguez, Wade Carmichael, and Ricardo in Heat 9. Our numbers have put Michael slightly on top. He had a great 2018 result to start his rookie year. He's got a really strong start to each event, so his round 1 average heat score is quite high, but his average points per round aren't quite as high after round 1, so that was an interesting thing. Wade's not that good in small waves. The stats aren't great for him in small waves. So yeah, we've got Michael on top, just over Wade in Heat 9.
It's Emrod, Wade, Carmichael, and
Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Cheezy's pick.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Ricardo last week in Manly, and he looks good. He gifted Jadson a wave at the end that was like, I think it's a tough read. I mean, he thought he was like, okay, I better block him, and then one of the better waves of the whole day came through, and Jaddy got it. But so Ricardo, Emrod, and Wade Carmichael. So I'm going to go with Emrod on this one.
Heat 10, we've got Seabass, Kanoa, and David. Seabass and Kanoa, again, really close. Seabass has had 2 25ths. He's got a slightly higher average heat score at Coolangatta, but Kanoa's had better average results, ninths, a couple of ninths, and 1 25th. And then David, most of his success has been in beach breaks, so if it is D-bar, he would probably be a lot higher in our metrics, but running it through a point break at Coolangatta, then we've got him a bit lower as far as data goes.
Seabass, Kanoa, natural footers. David is a goofy footer.
Mm-hmm.
The natural footers tend to do a lot better. However, was it Wilco and Owen
and Michael Lowe,
Michael Lowe and Gabriel,
yeah.
And David for CT. This is a hard one. Seabass is such a, I can never, like, he just does the most radical stuff, and then you think he makes it, and then he falls. Or you think, oh, he's definitely, or yeah, exactly. You go, oh, he fell, and then he makes it. Like, he is the hardest one to predict, I think. You can definitely predict his speeches; they're awesome. And Kanoa's really consistent competitor, without a lot of times without that like freakishness in his surfing. Sorry, I'm taking so long. I just nothing's coming. I'm gonna go with David because I don't really know who's gonna win that heat.
Yeah, throw into the unknown.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, next one we've got Kalohe, Heat 11. We've got Kalohe, Willian, and Jesse. Jesse's a bit weak in the rights statistically, and also in the smaller waves, which surprised me. Whereas Chloe and Willian are both pretty similar. Willian's had 2 13ths, so he's good to get out of the first round. Whereas Chloe's been up and down. He's had a 2nd in 2016 and a 9th in 2017, but he's had a few low results as well. So, you know, Willian for the consistency, but Chloe just above him in the average stats across the conditions.
I think Chloe's going to win that heat. That one's kind of
intuitive.
You know, when you feel like I'm thinking about, you know, I mean, I've known him since he was 7. And I know his dad, and I know that they work on, you know, grew up at lowers, and while lowers is a different way than snapper, it's still a right that you can do multiple maneuvers on, and I think Chloe's got that ability to dig in, and if he needs the big score, he can do that big air reverse of his that gets inverted and is quite impressive.
Yep. And last heat, this is my other top pick for round 1. We've got John, we've got Mikey, and we've got new boy Peterson. Peterson won Toledo last year, and apparently, from all reports, I haven't been there, his home break is actually a nice little right point break that's quite similar to the Gold Coast. That's what I read. But Mikey's got a 13th, and a 9th. He's great in the small stuff. He's a very, very solid pick here. But John is John. He's a freak. He did have a third in 2017, a 5th in 2016. But to be fair, the Gold Coast hasn't been his best result. He's had 2 25ths. But if you look at the data for points, you look at small waves, you look at right-handers, he's top 5 for pretty much everything. So John and Mikey to both make it through. But to be honest, Peterson is my dark horse for the event, and I think he'll go well. If he does make it to round 2, I think he'll progress to round 3 at least.
I think Mikey Wright's going to win that heat. I did happen to see him catch a wave yesterday, and he looked really sharp.
If you had to pick one surfer for the whole event, so our data says Gabe, across all metrics, who's your one instinct, who's going to win this year?
I just got a flash that Mikey Wright.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
This has been a Rhythm Films production.